Guys, today we're doing another fight career breakdown. Last time I went through Goku and Vegeta's resumes, and this time we're focusing on Gohan and Piccolo's careers. I want to see how they stack up, and I want to see if there's a fraud among one of these four. Like last time, I'm not just going to be compiling their records, getting their win-loss ratios. Those definitely matter, but they're also kind of overrated. For example, a win against Cell does not count the same as a win against a Frieza Force soldier that's got the traffic cone thing on his hand. That's why I'm ranking every fight based on who they fought and how they performed. Alright, here's how it's gonna work. We're ranking each fight using 3 criteria: the opponent level, the performance, and the context adjuster. Opponent level is scored out of 10, and the scale resets after each saga. I'm not ranking across the whole show because then the early fights would just feel pointless. I gave the example last time that nobody would ever rate Goku's win against Frieza lower than his win against Yakon, even though he's technically stronger. That's because we don't look at these fights that way. You, me, even the Z fighters, we judge the battles relative to their era. There is going to be some inflation from saga to saga, but only by half a point. So max score for Saiyan Saga is going to be a 10, for Namek is a 10.5, Android is 11, and Buu Saga is 11.5. I think that keeps the integrity of the older fights while still respecting the power creep. Okay, performance is straightforward. How well they did, how good they looked. Max score is always going to be a 10. And finally, the context adjuster. This one's important because fights in DBZ aren't always clean. If Gohan scores, let's say an 8 for performance, but it turns out it was like a 3-on-1, I gotta raise or drop that score to reflect it. Or let's say he was fighting someone who's a 10, but they were sandbagging or limited in the fight. I might lower the opponent level to an 8. After adjustments, we're just gonna average the 2 main numbers for an overall fight score. Simple. Alright, just like last time, I'm gonna throw on the Red Scouter. Let's get right into it, starting with Gohan's fights from the Saiyan Saga. First up is his fight against Raditz, and that's with the help of Piccolo and Goku. So for level, I'm gonna give Raditz a 5.5 for level. I feel like he's just above middle of the road when you look at the arc as a whole. But like I did for the last video, if you remember, I am going to use the context adjuster to bump up his score by 1 point, giving him a 6.5. I think the perception boosted the reality here because from what we knew about Goku and Piccolo, they were like the most unstoppable forces we've ever seen, and Raditz just completely humbled both of them. So I really do think in this one special case, I'm not going to do this very often in this video, but in this one special case, I think it's fair to kind of artificially inflate Raditz's level higher than it should be. Now, as far as performance, how Gohan did, I gave him a 5.5 for performance because, yeah, he didn't really throw a lot of hands. He just had that one rage boost. But man, if we're talking about importance to a fight, they couldn't have beat Raditz without him. Goku and Piccolo could not have beat Raditz without Gohan because he dealt some critical damage, and Goku wouldn't have been able to keep Raditz held in that full Nelson without it. But at the same time, I can't really give him much higher of a performance, even though he way overperformed what he should have, being, what is he, like 5 or 4 at the time. I can't give him too much because it was just quick flash in the pan, which honestly you're gonna see is like a lot of Gohan's career, but it is what it is. I'm gonna use the context adjuster to drop his performance by 2 points here because he had an immense amount of help, Goku and Piccolo obviously, giving Gohan an overall score of 5 for the win against Raditz. Next up, we have, after the time skip, the battle against Nappa. And for Nappa, I gave Nappa a level of 8. He was an absolute beast. Absolute beast. This, I mean, he took on Tia and Chaozu, Gohan, Krillin, and Piccolo, bro. And he was mowing him down too. Bro, Nappa was him. And Gohan, for performance, man, he did terrible. Bro, he was a bum. He was an absolute bum for this fight. I gave him, and this is me being so generous, I gave him a 3.5. He had one good moment with the Misenko, right? That was awesome. That was a great moment. And he also, I think he clipped Nappa up top before the Misenko, which is why Nappa was pissed off with him and wanted to kill him in the first place. But again, the problem with him in this fight isn't that he didn't have a couple of cool moments. Gohan, he was a liability out there. That's why he's getting such a low score. He was a liability out there. He was actually worse for the team than better. Piccolo had to save him countless times. He ended up dying one of the times that he saved him because he just simply wouldn't dodge. Which, fair, I'm not going to criticize him too much, bro. He's a kid. He was... No, actually, yeah, I will, bro. These hands are ready to eat for everybody. We're not going to go easy on him because he's a kid here. We're not, bro. We're not Gohan apologists on this channel. We love Gohan, but we're not going to cap for him either. So yeah, and I'm going to drop his performance down, his already low performance down by 2.5 points because of the crazy amount of help that he got in this fight, bringing his performance down to a 1. giving him an overall score of 4.5 for the win against Nappa. And I didn't mention it in the intro, but for losses, I'm going to actually reduce the score by a third. That's what I did in the last one too, bringing his score to a total of 3.02. That's tough. All right, next up, in his last fight in the saga is against Vegeta. This is with the help of Goku, Krillin, and Yajirobe. Now for level, look, no argument here. Vegeta gets a 10 out of 10. I don't think we're going to get it. For the Saiyan saga, he was him. He was the one. But this version of Vegeta was after the Kaioken beatdown, the beam struggle. He was not close to tip-top shape here. So I'm going to drop him down a point. That sounds about right to me. For performance though, this time, Gohan he overperformed like crazy. I'm giving him a 7.5 for this fight. I actually watched it back and I totally forgot how much he was leading the fight against Vegeta here. Gohan gets huge credit for that performance, 7.5. Again, I'm dropping him down by 2.5 points because the amount of help he had was still crazy in this one. His overall score for this win is a 7. His record in the Saiyan saga is 2 wins and 1 loss. All right, moving on to Piccolo in the Saiyan saga. First fight, again, Raditz. Same as before, Raditz is a 5.5, and same logic as with Gohan, we're going to adjust him and bump him up to a 6.5. For Piccolo though, I'm definitely going to give him a higher performance than I did for Gohan and than I did for Goku in my last video, because Piccolo was the one that dealt the finishing blow, bro. Simple. I'm giving him a 7 for performance. He didn't really have a lot of success with the hands, but none of them were going to. Raditz just outclassed them. It is what it is. But this win wouldn't even be possible without him because only he had the firepower to get rid of the opponent. So he's got to get the most credit for this win. And I'm dropping him down by 2 points because, again, he got a ton of help, bringing him to an overall of 5.75 for this win. Next up is after the time skip when Piccolo faced off against the Cybermen. Now for Cybermen, we pretty much know from the series that they're just a cut below Raditz, so I'm going to give him a 5 for level. Piccolo's performance though, bro, this is one of my favorite massacres in the entire series. The way Piccolo bodied this thing was so badass. Just froze him with the body shot, threw him away like a piece of absolute garbage, and erased him out of existence with the mouth beam. I'm gonna give him a 10 out of 10 for performance. And also, I don't know why he took the mouth beam out of his bag, by the way. Bro, those things were cold and just unpredictable. Remember, he almost secured a comeback win against Goku with one of these things. He should bring that back in his arsenal. I'm just saying. He's gonna get a score of 7.5 for this win. Solid win. Next up is the fight against Nappa again. Again, Nappa is an 8 for level. For performance, Piccolo definitely did a lot better than Gohan. A lot better. I'm gonna give him a 6 overall for his performance here. He was the team captain. He set up some really nice plays against Nappa, like the one where him and Krillin attacked him right before he was going to land the finishing blow on Tien, because Krillin was going to jump the gun and mess up the timing, but Piccolo stayed cool-headed. He saved Gohan multiple times in the battle. I'm not gonna lie, he did have some bad moments too. I mean, Nappa disrespected the hell out of this man. I gotta pull up the scene here. Of when he called him a Namek lizard.
There's no bottom to this thing. That's just a pockmark, you Namek lizard.
There was also that play where he tried grabbing Nappa's tail, which, credit to Piccolo, for all he knew from the Raditz fight, that was a good idea, but it led to some of the craziest disrespect ever, bro. Nappa was just holding his carcass up by the skull. This was disgusting. Look how Nappa was treating him like a piece of roadkill. Dude, no wonder Piccolo aura farmed for the rest of the series. He was in debt. But no, Piccolo was very useful in this fight. I still wouldn't say that he's the MVP of this battle though. I think the real MVP was still Krillin. This man was slick. He landed meaningful shots, and let's not forget, he would have cut Nappa in half if it wasn't for his corner man, Vegeta. Vegeta telling him to dodge at the last second for the Destructo Disc. Dude, it's crazy. Think about this. If Nappa comes to Earth alone, Krillin puts him in a body bag. Just think about that for a moment. We gotta give him his flowers here, because that's actually insane. But yeah, anyways, I'm out here going off on a tangent. I'm subtracting his performance score by 2 because of the crazy amount of help that he had from the rest of the Z fighters, and his overall score for this fight is gonna be a 6. And of course he lost it, so it goes down to a 4.02. His record for the Saiyan saga was same as Gohan, 2 wins, 1 loss. All right, now let's go to the Namek saga, and we're going back to Gohan too. First fight was against these 2 random Frieza soldiers, and bro, I'm giving them a 1. These guys were as trash as it gets. If you're on the Frieza Force and you're wearing that stupid traffic cone on your arm that you need to fire off Ki Blast, you're just an absolute bin man, waste man, tomato can bum. Just a bum. What else is there? A milkman? I don't know. That's not even a profession anymore. Now you're just terrible. 1. I can't give him any more than a 1 and keep my self-respect. For performance, Gohan gets a 10 out of 10. Him and Krillin just one-shotted these guys, and that was it. bringing his overall score for this win a 5.5. Now, the next opponent he faced off against was Goldo, and this was him and Krillin fighting Goldo. For level, I'm giving Goldo, actually, he's kind of hard to rank because if we're just talking power levels, this guy might get something like a 3, but his psychic powers were so good, I'm actually going to bump him up to a 5. And if he didn't have insulin resistance, he probably would have been even better. Seriously, if he went to lifetime fitness with the rest of the Ginyus, he probably would have been a 6.5 because he has some crazy potential. Anyways, for performance, man, I'm struggling to give Gohan more than a 6. I'm going to give him a 6. Him and Krillin just didn't do so good on this one. Yeah, they had Goldo on the ropes almost the whole time, to be fair, and they were pretty close to finishing him, but they could have played it different. They could have split up and attacked from different sides, and if they did that, I don't think they would have been caught in the mind bind. Of course, I'm going to use the context adjuster to drop the performance score down by a point because he had Krillin to help, bringing that down to a 5, making his overall score for this fight a 5. But don't forget, they actually lost this fight because Vegeta had to step in. Vegeta was supposed to sit out for this fight. They agreed it was a 2-on-1, but he had to step in to save them at the last second before Krillin got shish kebabbed. So they took a L here. The loss brings us down to a 3.35. Next up is Gohan versus Recoome. For level, I'm giving Recoome a 6.5. I could see the argument for a 7, but I think a 6.5 suits him better because the levels spike up pretty much during the Frieza battle. They just explode. So I can't have the Ginyu Force too high. For performance, man, I actually thought Gohan did better than he did. I thought he had like a moment where he had Recoome on the back. No, he didn't. He did terrible. I gave him a 3 for performance, and I might be throwing him a life raft here. He had like one good moment of the fight, and it was really just because Recoome was just playing with him the whole time. Pause. Never dealt any damage on him, and he got brutally finished in this fight. Again, guys, this is Gohan not even a day later after getting massacred by Recoome, but no, he's definitely traumatized, right? Hates fighting. His overall score for the fight is a 4.75, and with the loss, that brings him down to a 3.18. Next up is his fight against Captain Ginyu, and this is with the help of Krillin, Vegeta, and Goku. Ginyu, I'm gonna give him an 8 for level. He had really solid power level for the Namek Saga. He was the second most powerful villain, and he had an amazing ability. But of course, this is the version of Ginyu that's in Goku's body, which is a far cry of what he was before, so he's getting docked down 2 points, down to a 6. For performance, I feel like I might be giving Gohan too many life rafts. I'm giving him a 5 here for performance because it was an okay performance. Him and Krillin were pushing Ginyu back and overwhelming him at first, but then when Ginyu started to get used to Goku's body, again, pause. He started to come back and he started to actually take momentum in the fight, and Goku had to step in and save Gohan. And then eventually, obviously, Vegeta just hijacked the fight and just demolished Ginyu. So, I don't know, it's kind of a weird one. Him and Krillin did okay. I'll give him a 5, and I'm dropping down the performance by 2.5 points because of, again, the crazy amount of help. They wouldn't have beat Ginyu on their own. There's no way. This is gonna bring their overall score 4.25. Next fight was against Frieza. Now, of course, without question, Frieza is gonna get the max score of 10.5 for Namek. But this is second form Frieza, so I'm dropping him down by 1.5. So he's gonna get 9. For performance, Gohan, I'm gonna give him a 6. I don't know. I could see some people in the comments thinking I'm underrated Gohan and some people thinking I'm overrating Gohan. Don't get me wrong. He had an amazing moment where he just landed that flurry. He was landing the ki blast and it was solid. And really against second form Frieza, he put in better work than Krillin and Vegeta. Vegeta actually performed the worst in this fight. He was just shell shocked. But again, dude, the second the rage kind of wore off, Frieza beat the brakes off of this man. He was crushing his skull. Then they had to heal him. And then after then they healed him, he still couldn't do anything to Frieza. Again, though, the Gohan rage moment was really cool, and that's where he's getting those 6 points from. And I'm going to, of course, drop those points by 1.5 because, yeah, a lot of team fights for Gohan. I think like half of his fights here are team fights compared to Goku and Vegeta's have a lot more 1v1s. He gets an overall score of 6.75 for this fight, and with the loss, that brings it down to a 4.52. And now next up is his final fight in the saga, and that's again against Frieza, 10.5, but this time Frieza's level drops down only by 0.5 point because this is final form Frieza. Can't give him the full score because the man was sandbagging like crazy. Gohan only gets 1 point for performance because it was abysmal. Him, Piccolo, and Krillin, they couldn't land a single hit on Frieza, and then Frieza was actually about to kill Gohan before Vegeta saves him. This man loves being saved. Terrible fight for him. Bro, you knew this was gonna be a bad showing from the Z Fighters when the animation dropped quality. Whenever the animation drops quality, you're either gonna see a horrible Ki Blast volley, a horrible just like montage of strikes that miss. Dude, the animation was so dookie here. There was no way they were getting any more than a 2 for performance. You just knew it ahead of time. 5.5 is the overall points. Subtracting for the loss, his overall score is a 3.69. So Gohan's overall record for the Namek Saga was 2 wins and 4 losses. Definitely a step behind from the Saiyan Saga. Now let's move on to Piccolo in the Namek Saga. He only had 2 fights here. First one being against 2nd and 3rd form Frieza. So I'm actually only going to drop Frieza's level by -1 this time because he also did fight 3rd form. And man, talking about performances, this was a legendary Clash of Titans. Legendary. It was super competitive, but Piccolo was actually getting the better of him and just looked phenomenal. Obviously until Frieza transforms. Then he got teed off on. Nah, but Piccolo versus 2nd form Frieza that might be my favorite Piccolo moment. Everything about it, just him resurrecting on Namek, trying to save Gohan on the soil that he never knew was his, but deep down inside always knew something was missing, bro, and it was right here. When he was resurrected, he felt good, he felt great. You guys know the drill. You guys know the drill. This is an amazing Piccolo moment, arguably the best one, right up there with the 17 fight. I don't know, something about this one was just special to me. Man, we need more moments where Piccolo was the top Z fighter, because when he has the spotlight, he puts on bangers. I'm giving him a 7 for this performance. His overall is an 8.25, and having lost this fight brings him down to a 5.53. Next fight and last fight in the saga is against Frieza. Again, same as last time, 10.5 drops down to a 10. And same performance that I gave Gohan. I'm going to give Piccolo a 1. Just like Gohan, he couldn't land a single thing. Him, Gohan, and Krillin were all just equally trash. He gets a 5.5. With the loss, that brings him down to a 3.69. His record is a raunchy 0-2 for Namek. That's tough because it didn't feel, bro. It didn't feel like he took a fat L on Namek. That's the thing. In Dragon Ball Z, bro, you can have good moments and have that aura, but still come out with just L's on your record. It's crazy. There's nothing like DBZ. Because Piccolo came out of this arc to me looking like $1 million, but he's out here 0-2. Now we're moving to the Android Saga, and since we didn't get a lot of Piccolo action here, I'm gonna stay with his record for the Android Saga. Okay, so first up is his fight against Dr. Gero, and I'm gonna give Dr. Gero a 6.5 for level. Same score I gave Android 19 in the last video. They were on the same tier. And for performance, Piccolo schooled this man, and after losing some energy to him too. This one was seriously impressive. He was slipping his shots, countering him, humiliating him in front of the whole squad too. Cuts off his arm and just, yeah, he humiliated this man. He's getting a 10 out of 10 for performance. But, and this might be a little controversial, I am going to drop that down by half a point just because I do think some of the reason why Piccolo looked so good here is because Gero was kind of frantic. I mean, let's not forget, he was surrounded by enemies, including Vegeta, who he knew he couldn't hold a candle to. And he didn't really think much of Piccolo before fighting him. So he was like a trapped rat, bro. That had to have done something to made him look this sorry. I don't think he would have looked this sorry. Or maybe he would have. Either way, 9.5 seems pretty fair to me. That's going to bring Piccolo's overall score for this win up to an 8. Very solid win. Next up is the group fight against androids 17 and 18. Piccolo, Trunks, and Tien just bomb rushed the androids. Technically, Piccolo really only fought 17 here, but he had the intention of fighting 18 too, so I'm adding both of them. For level, I'd give each of them an 8. Obviously, 17 is stronger than 18, but they're in the same league, so I give them each an 8. Since there are 2 of them, I'm gonna bump them up to an 8.5. For performance though, this was bad. This was bad. Yeah, no, Piccolo comes in, gets wheel kicked, swatted away like a fly. 17 is just having fun, just choking the life out of Tien. Piccolo tries to help him, slip, body shot, done. Piccolo's cooked. He went out sorry. He gets a 1 for performance, and I gotta drop him down by half a point because this was with help, by the way. This was a bad loss. He's getting 4.5 for this fight, and with the loss, that brings him down to a 3.02. Terrible. Just terrible. Next up, we have his fight against Imperfect Cell, which I'm gonna give him a score of 8.5. But Cell wasn't even close to his peak here. He still needed to absorb a ton of humans to get to his full potential in this form, so he gets dropped down to a 7.5, which 7.5, that's the exact same score I'm going to give Piccolo for his performance, because he started off with an aura farming masterclass, but he was kind of doing too much, and Cell ended up catching him and absorbed his arm. Yeah, Piccolo did manage to turn it back around. He was smart enough to let Cell yap so he'd have time to regenerate his arm, but definitely not a clean picture perfect performance, especially because he had the strength advantage on Cell, you know? So he kind of, if you think about it, he kind of fumbled here. He still did really well though. That's a solid score, and that's going to be his overall score for the win too, 7.5. Now next up is the rematch with Android 17, who we already said was an 8 for level. Man, this is arguably, I don't even think most people will argue with it. This is Piccolo's best fight in Dragon Ball Z. Bro, he came in guns blazing, just teeing off on Android 17, and then it was pretty much nearly dead even for the rest of the fight. I say pretty much because Piccolo was a little bit ahead. Phenomenal performance against a really, really difficult opponent to fight, bro. Infinite energy is no joke. The Hell Zone grenade was just a thing of beauty. He showed his bag, his fight IQ, everything against a worthy opponent. I'm giving him an 8 for his performance because honestly, both guys just put on a showcase here. This was one of those fights, you know? And one of the earliest fight analysis videos I ever made too. I have fond memories of making this one. Piccolo gets an overall score of 8 for this fight, and this was a win. You could argue that this should be a draw. If you want to argue that, fair enough. But me personally, having looked at the fight frame by frame, having scored it, I gave Piccolo the win on the scorecards. It is what it is. And I know that 17 did have the advantage with the infinite energy going on later into the fight, but Piccolo still had a very real win condition with the light grenade, because we saw, bro, 17 was booking it when he saw the light grenade when Piccolo shot it against Cell later. So he still could have definitely won, but based on what we did see, he was ahead, he gets the win, and he keeps the full 8 points. Now next up is Piccolo versus Imperfect Cell, the rematch. This time he gets the full 8.5, and for performance, I only gave Piccolo a 2, and that was just because he landed like one punch, I think, when Cell was kind of distracted, and then the light grenade just looked so cool. It was just aura, classic Piccolo aura, just bringing up his points a little bit. And I also used the context adjuster to increase his points up to a 3 because, let's be real, Cell pulled up on a battle-wounded, tired Piccolo. This is not the same Piccolo from like 20 minutes ago. It's just not. But honestly, Cell probably still would have dog-walked him. But let's not talk about that. Piccolo gets a 5.75 for this win, and with the loss, it drops down to a 3.85. Okay, now his next fight is against the Cell Juniors. This one is tricky. Well, first of all, let's get to the level. I'm giving the Cell Juniors a 9.5. They were upper echelon. It's really rare to see like mindless, small minion type characters being so powerful relative to, because these guys they weren't just giving Z fighters a run for their money. They were cooking them. The only Z fighters in manga that stood a chance were Vegeta and Trunks. But in the anime only, Piccolo was putting in work. He was arguably the MVP. I'm going to give him a 6 for performance just based off of the anime. The manga was ambiguous. It made it seem like Piccolo probably got cooked, but we don't know. And I'm going to side with the anime on this one a little bit because he was team captain like back in the Nappa fight. He eventually got beat up though. So yeah, can't give him any higher than that, but he was looking pretty impressive. He's going to get a 7.75. And with the loss, this is going to drop him down to a 5.19. And look, this is the perfect time to bring up a mistake I made from the last video. Okay, so number 1, I gave Vegeta a loss for the fight against the Cell Jr. That's not really fair. He was going 50-50 with it, and by the time that Gohan transformed into a Super Saiyan 2, Vegeta was not down and out. He wasn't beat up. He was still holding his own with his Cell Jr. in the anime and in the manga. He would have gotten cooked by the other Cell Juniors, but 1v1, we don't know. And the second thing I'm changing, the first video, I counted the Super Perfect Cell, the gauntlet match with the father-son Kamehameha. I counted that as a fight for Goku on his record. Now, I know he was dead, okay? The argument I made at the time was that even though he wasn't physically present, bro, he was dead. But he still played a unique key role in the battle with the father-son Kamehameha. So I felt like he deserved the win on his record for that. And even then, I was on the fence about it. But now I'm just fully against it. Okay, I thought about it some more. I heard some of the feedback. Bro, this one guy commented on the video. He said that's like giving a coach a win against his fighter's opponent. Someone else said, hey, might as well give Chi-Chi a win against Cell. I'm sure Gohan was thinking about her too. You know, it's just, The only people that are going to get credit for that win are Gohan and Vegeta. I'm not giving it to Piccolo either, or the other Z fighters, because in the manga, they didn't even deter Cell. It was only Vegeta. Even in the anime, they were just there as filler while Vegeta was battling himself internally on whether or not he should help. So this fight is the last official fight on Piccolo's record for the Android Saga. He ends off the saga with a record of 3 wins and 3 losses. All right, let's move over to Gohan now. So right off the bat, Gohan's first fight in the arc is against Perfect Cell. For level, he gets a 10.5, no surprise here, just shy of the max score of 11 for the arc, because this ain't super Perfect Cell. So for performance, I gave Gohan, dude, I've noticed that I think I've been giving him kind of a lot of life rafts, because I gave him a 4.5. And just an FYI, I'm splitting up the Cell fight into multiple layers for this. If you watched my fight analysis for Gohan versus Cell, I made it all like one mega fight, but in reality, I'll be honest, that's another thing I messed up on. That's another thing I messed up on. I shouldn't have done it that way, because this was way too messy to be one clean fight with the kind of format I'm doing. So we're just talking about before Gohan transformed into a Super Saiyan 2. But yeah, I gave him a 4.5. He had some good moments where he showed off his defense, and he did land one head kick that did some pretty serious damage to Cell. But other than that, dude, he was getting lit up by Cell, hurt, dropped. It was pretty bad. I gave him a 7.5 for this fight. And with the loss, it brings him down to a 5.03. And I consider it a loss because, bro, he basically gave up when he told Cell, like, hey, we shouldn't be fighting. And he just stood there. Cell put him in a bear hug, squeezed the life out of him. Android 16 stepped in. It was just a mess. Cell went and stole the Senzu beans from the Z fighter. Bro, the fight was over. Gohan essentially quit. But in his next fight against the Cell Juniors, he did anything but that. Cell Juniors, again, they're 9.5 for level, but since Gohan fought the whole lot of them, I'm bumping him up to a 10. Speaking of 10, that's exactly what Gohan gets for this performance. This was one of the most legendary performances in the entire show. You couldn't conceive of a better performance here. It was his masterclass. He's gonna get an overall score of 10 out of 10. For this win. Highest score for a win I've given since Goku versus Frieza. This one was insane. And then next up is his rematch against Perfect Cell, who again is a 10.5. This time, and this is probably going to be even more controversial, I'm splitting up the fight between Perfect Cell and when Cell came back. If the fight just didn't end off how it did with Cell self-destructing, I would have given Gohan a 10 out of 10 again, because he was on his way to the best DBZ performance. He was going to eclipse Goku against Goku vs Frieza. That's how good this was getting ready to be. But by the end of this fight, Gohan was on his knees giving up after Cell threatened self-destruction. And at the time, if you watched my fight analysis video, you'll know that I scored it a win for Gohan because I was like, oh, Cell rage quit. To me, this was him rage quitting. It still is, but I don't know, man. The more I think about it, I could see how people view it as a legitimate win. And a lot of online sources will put this as a loss for Gohan, but that doesn't seem right either to me. All things considered, I think that this one should be a draw for Gohan. And by the way, I'm giving him an 8.5 for his performance against Cell here because how he took his foot off the gas and really just, I mean, he got his dad killed. DBZ fighters and fumbling the bag. Yeah. But yeah, I think the most fair thing would be a draw because had Goku not intervened, literally Gohan would have been dead and Cell would have been alive. So it's kind of weird to give him a loss, but it's kind of weird to give him a win too because it's like he literally quit. You know what I mean? Gohan gets a score of 9.5 for this fight, but since it's a draw, he's going to get an overall point value of 8.08 for this one. Still gets a lot of points for this fight, as he should. And then the last fight for him was the father-son Kamehameha Super Perfect Cell fight. Super Perfect Cell gets a perfect score for the arc of 11, and I'm giving Gohan a 9 for his performance. Despite having the broken arm, he gave it literally everything he had. This is where he peaked in the story as a character. He was him. He was him in this fight. It's that simple. I am going to drop him down by 1.5 points because without Goku's coaching and without Vegeta physically interrupting Cell in the fight, he would have lost. So that was crucial. He's still going to get an overall score of 9.25 for this win. Phenomenal win and phenomenal run for him in the Android Saga. He has a record of 2 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. And he racked up a lot of points in this one. Okay, we're moving on to the Buu Saga, and we're going to head over to Piccolo. And look, this is going to be a really quick one. The one and only fight he actually officially had in this saga was against Babidi. And for level, I'm actually giving Babidi a 4. Now, I could see some people thinking that he's a complete bum and that should give him like a 1 or 2, whatever, but not necessarily. It's kind of like the Goldo effect, you know what I mean? Power-wise, he's trash, but his powerful magic makes up for it. For performance, I'm giving Piccolo a 9 out of 10 for this one. He just basically got to work and destroyed Babidi. The only reason I'm not giving him a 10 out of 10 is because, and maybe this is kind of petty of me, but I felt like he was, again, trying to aura farm a little bit too much, and he could have done a better job at making sure Babidi was gone. I mean, at this point, Piccolo's already seen Cell. Obviously, he knew about Cell who could regenerate. He knows that he himself can regenerate, and he knows that Majin Buu can regenerate. So he knows that there are people out there that have these abilities. He's seen multiple of them, and he knows that Babidi's got this like weird magic powers. So I don't know why he didn't just fire off a Ki Blast after he chopped him in half. I think vintage Piccolo would have finished him off, but at this point, he just wasn't the fighter he was before, unfortunately. But yeah, that's gonna bring his overall score for the win to a 6.5, and his record in the Buu Saga was 1 win and 0 losses. And now we're going back to Gohan in the Buu Saga. First fight in the Buu Saga, again, I'm not counting the fight against Yamu and Spopovich. That wasn't even a fight, that was a setup. His first real opponent was Dabura. And for level, Dabura was a really solid opponent. I'm giving him a 7.5 for level. He had good hands and he had some good abilities, one of them being very lethal with the spit, turning people into stone. For performance, I'm going to give Gohan a 6 for performance here because this is the fight that is very famous for Gohan, showing how rusty Gohan was, right? He made some really bad fight IQ mistakes. Gohan and Vegeta were on the sidelines just pissed off, just frustrated at what they were seeing, like how bad he had fallen off. But despite that, I do think that he still did some pretty good work, especially after I analyzed the fight. So I like 6. His overall score for this fight was a 6.75, but again, this is a draw. I remember when I made the fight analysis for it, I was really hoping to give somebody a win for it, but it ended up being a draw. I just could not pick a winner for this one. So that's gonna bring his score down to a 5.74, because remember, a draw does not drop the score as harshly as a loss. His next fight was against Majin Buu, and I'm giving him a 10.5 for level. Remember, the max score for this saga is an 11.5, so I think this fits perfectly with Majin Buu. He was an absolute monster, but he was the weakest form of Buu, so I wouldn't really give him any higher than that. As for how Gohan did, oof, this one was buns. He did just terrible. One of the worst losses in his entire career here. He couldn't do a thing to Buu. I gave him a 1, by the way. He couldn't do a thing to Buu. Couldn't even threaten him in any way like Vegeta did, somebody who was kind of in a similar league to him at this point in the arc. Mind you, this is a highly motivated Gohan who locked back in, and it only took 1 shot and 1 Ki Blast to turn him into roadkill. And Supreme Kai was helping him too, which, by the way, I'm dropping him down half a point for. This was a horrible, horrible look for him. He gets a 5.5 for the fight, and with the loss, that brings him down to a 3.69. That was terrible. He got cooked. But the next fight, his rematch with Majin Buu, where he fought a much stronger version of him, Super Buu, I'm giving him an 11 for level. He was clean, but Gohan was cleaner. He totally and utterly dismantled him here. This is one of the best wins, again, in the entire series. I'm giving him a 10 for this performance. It was one of those jaw-dropping performances and one of the coldest pull-ups in the series too. I am, however, gonna subtract a point from his performance, bring him down to a 9, because his fight IQ, we need to talk about it. It's bad, guys. Bro, it's bad. This should have been the best win in the show, but he had to ruin it by just getting cocky and letting Buu self-destruct. You'd think he would have learned from the Cell saga. You'd think that he would have learned from that, but he did the exact same thing he did against Cell. That cost him his dad's life, by the way, just so you know. And you might be asking, okay, well, why am I dropping him a point though if I didn't drop Vegeta a point for letting Cell transform into his perfect form? And I also didn't drop Goku a point when he let Frieza power up to 100% on Namek. And I'm not, listen, what they did was stupid as hell, okay? But hear me out. There's a difference between the stupidity that they showed and the stupidity that Gohan showed. They purposefully rolled the dice and they wanted their opponents to power up. Gohan didn't do that. He didn't want Super Buu to get better. He just didn't even have the wherewithal to know that it was even gonna happen. Do you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, morally, it's a better look for him, definitely. But as a fighter, in the context of me ranking you as a fighter, I think it's such a worse look than what Goku and Vegeta have been guilty for in the past. That's just me personally. Gohan gets an overall score of 10 for this win against Super Buu. And now we're going to his final fight in the Buu Saga, and that's again against Super Buu. This time, Gotenks absorbed. And I'm going to give him the max score of 11.5. I know that Buuhan was stronger than Buu-Tanks, but I always viewed them as like a similar tier. So I'm also giving Buu-Tanks the max score. For performance, Gohan, he had some moments of resistance, but he was no match for this Buu. He was never going to win this. He had a couple moments where he caught Buu off guard a little bit. He could never capitalize on it. But I think given how much stronger Buu was, I think he still did okay. I'm going to give him a 4. I think he did all right. But I'm about to contradict myself here. He got dog walked. Which is it? I don't know. I think he did as best as he could do. I'll put it that way. Gohan's overall score for this fight was a 7.75. And with the loss, it goes down to a 5.19. His record for the Buu Saga is 1 win, 2 losses, and 1 draw. Okay, so we covered their whole careers from Dragon Ball Z. Now let's get to the conclusion. We're going to compare Gohan to Piccolo, and then we're going to compare both of these guys to Goku and Vegeta from the last video. Okay, so Gohan and Piccolo have a really similar average point value per fight, but since Piccolo didn't have as many fights, his total points are really lacking here. Also, their average opponent level, it's not even close. Gohan blows Piccolo out of the water here. He's on average fighting just the much better competition. Piccolo's only advantage on Gohan here is that he doesn't have a negative win to loss ratio, but again, he's fighting weaker competition, so that's part of the reason. Yeah, Gohan is definitely a step ahead of Piccolo when we're talking about resume, but then if we're also looking at their top 5 fights, which I'm going to put up on the screen right here, this is where it really starts to fall apart for Piccolo. This is bad. So, I mean, bro, Super Buu, Cell Juniors, Super Perfect Cell, which was a draw, and Vegeta in the Saiyan Saga. Come on, dude. Now look at Piccolo. You got 17. Very solid, don't get me wrong. Arguably a draw, but still, Android 20, bro, Dr. Giro. Not bad. No, definitely a good win, but to be your number 2 win, Imperfect Cell when he wasn't at his peak. A Cyberman? Are you joking me? And Babidi. Like, those are his top 5 fights that he got the most points on with my system. If we're just going off of hype and stuff and not just necessarily performance and points and all that, you would throw the Frieza fight in there. But I mean, look, bro, you can easily see that the verdict is pretty clear. Gohan clearly has the better resume compared to Piccolo. It's not, and I love Piccolo. I like Piccolo a lot more than I like Gohan, but I just have to keep it 100. And now let's compare all 4 of these guys, starting with the records. Goku and Piccolo, they have an even record, 9-1, and Piccolo's got a record of 6-6. Gohan is the only one that has a negative record where he's taking more L's than he has wins. His record is 7-8-2, so that's kind of raunchy, I'm not gonna lie. And Vegeta actually has the best win-loss ratio in Dragon Ball Z out of the Z fighters, period. Out of these guys so far, at least. I haven't done Trunks. I don't know if I'm gonna, but 12 wins, 10 losses, and 1 draw. The next category is their total points. Again, Vegeta is going to take the cake here, almost 140 points. Goku doing well in second place. Gohan definitely a notch below. And Piccolo, he's not even close to the leaderboard here. This is bad. This is a bad look for him. Granted, you know, he had the least amount of fights here, so it's to be expected that it's going to be the lowest. But yeah, the disparity is kind of wild to see. More important than total points though, for me, is their average score. So this is the average point value per fight that they got. And Goku's going to take the cake here at 6.24. And right below him is Vegeta at 6.07. So he's not too far off from Goku, but Goku's definitely a notch ahead. Gohan and Piccolo, they're about the same, but they're both like a clear step below Vegeta as far as, and definitely Goku. As far as their average points per fight, it's not even close. Goku and Vegeta clear them, and Goku is the clear winner. Now, their average opponent level. Goku wins again in this category at 8.45, but Gohan actually is really close. I mean, they're basically the same, 8.44. So that's really high. They both consistently fight very high level opposition. Vegeta does as well. He's definitely below them, but it's not too bad. He's definitely still fighting high level opposition consistently. Piccolo though, I mean, bro, again, he's not even competing in this category. He gets cooked by all 3 of these guys. And here I'm going to put on the screen each of these guys' top 5 wins. I already went over Gohan and Piccolo's top 5 wins, how Gohan just clears Piccolo. And to be honest with you, Gohan is still leading the charge for the top 5 wins, but Goku is just a step below. And you can make the argument that Goku's top 5 is still better than Gohan's just because, bro, look at Goku's. You got Namek Saga, Saiyan Saga, Buu Saga, and these were 2 separate fights in the Buu Saga. 3 of Gohan's top 5 fights are from one moment in time, whereas Goku's got that consistency throughout the whole show. You feel me? Vegeta's got a good top 5 too. Definitely not as good as Gohan and Goku's, that's for sure. But he's definitely got some really solid top 5 wins. 2 wins against Goku in 2 different arcs. A very dominant win against Cell. It wasn't the best version of Cell, but he was still the strongest character at the time, so it was super impressive. And he gets some credit for the Super Perfect Cell Gauntlet match for sure. 19 win was pretty good. Still way better than Piccolo's top 5. So yeah, it's not looking good for the Namekian. The order of who has the best career right now is pretty clear to me. Number 1, I put Goku. Number 2, Vegeta. Number 3, Gohan. And number 4, Piccolo. I think Goku is just ahead of Vegeta. I mean, really, they're neck and neck because Vegeta was leading the charge in 2 categories, just like Goku was. But where Goku beats Vegeta is that one win against Frieza, man. That one win against Frieza. And that's what I said in the last video, is basically the only thing that separates them. Otherwise, their careers are very, very similar. Gohan is really impressive in some ways, but if we're looking at careers as a whole, bro, he's got to be below both of these guys. We get way too much flash in the pan moments and short peaks with him. I already discussed how 3 of his top 5 wins are from the same moment. You know what I mean? And that's where he's racking up most of his points for. He has the most losses. He's the least consistent. If we're talking about resumes, consistency is really important. And Goku and Vegeta were the beacons of consistency throughout the series. And Piccolo, man, he's not even in the discussion. I'm sorry, I love Piccolo. So these stats hurt to compile, but he kind of got fraud checked with this one. I'm not saying skill for skill, he can't bang with the best of them. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying he isn't a top tier character. But if we're talking about DBZ fight careers, he just doesn't hold a candle to the Saiyans. It is what it is. Let me know if you disagree with me. Let me know what you think about the video. I will see you soon, and I'm out of here.